Hello. So in this series of videos, we're going to look at the kind of fundamental building blocks in After Effects of parenting and precomps. And parenting and precomps are the keys to creating projects with more complexity. So the first thing we're going to look at in this video is parenting. So I'm going to just start fresh. I'm going to make a new composition. We'll just make it HD. It doesn't really matter. So let's say I have two squares here. So that's shape number one. Move the pivot. All right, and then I'll just duplicate it. Put it over. All right, and then we'll add some animation to these. They rotate a little. Come back. Okay, keep this up. Just hitting down Alt here. All right, and I'll just ease it. So two squares, identical animation, right? So what we could do, if we wanted to, just hide this one for a second. This one, the other one, is if we wanted to have this not rotate around its center, we could move our anchor point. Just grabbing the little anchor point tool, grabbing this, and moving it somewhere else on the canvas, and that will make a different kind of thing, right? No problem. But what if we wanted to have that motion, right? But then keep its initial movement. So to do that, we need to use parenting. So to do that, let's just grab the pivot, move it over here. I like this again. So what I can do is swap the order. I can have this, the right-handed one, be a child of the left-handed one. So to do that, I grab this little thing here called the pick whip, and I release. And now it says parent and link, shape layer 1. So now, I did this backwards. Do this the other way, like that. There we go. Now it moves, and then it also is inheriting the position from this other cube over here. And you can see like right off the bat like what the potential of this is. Like it's starting to look like an arm bending or what have you. All right, and if I want to turn that off, I just go to none. Now, if you're not seeing these little menus over here, you can turn things on and off by clicking on these buttons, all right? You can also right-click over here and then just turn columns on and off, okay? And then there's like preset workspaces that Adobe has made for you. Small screen might be one that I made, I'm not sure. But anyway, if we go to standard, window, workspace, reset standard to save, I think, workspace. Come on. Oh, I guess that's it, right? There's your parent in blank, right? So if you're not seeing this, it's hiding somewhere. So those are on their own, and then if you want one to inherit the other, you do that, right? And that's pretty simple. Now, so yeah, I mean, you could use this to create like solar systems or wheels on cars or a bunch of shapes that follow another or like joints or what have you. It's also like, I'm kind of interested in just simple graphic animation. It can also be used to create kind of beautiful nested movement. So let's say I have this, and then I'm going to make another one and move it down and move it over. And then once again, I'll add a little rotation to this, and let's say goes far, and I can't see it. There we go. Make these spin once. Spinner. So I can make one child of the other and get these beautiful kind of nested kind of movements, right? Which has a lot of potential just in its own right, besides like making rigs for things. All right, so what if in this scenario here, I wanted to have this outer one spinning along, but I don't want to see the inside, right? Like I don't want to see what's driving it. So in a situation like that, what you would need is a null. And all a null is a invisible placeholder that stores transformation. So let's see, if I turn this thing off, I'm going to make this a child of none. I'm going to create a null, right, which won't render. I'll add some spin to this thing. One loop, okay? Then I'll make this a child of that. And we get the same kind of thing. And there's like an invisible force driving it. All right. So the use for nulls are endless, but another couple scenarios that I want you to be aware of are this. So let's say I'm gonna delete the animation on that. I'm gonna make this thing a child of this. Okay, cool. So one useful thing that nulls can be used for is just to reposition things on the canvas, but maintain their animation. And of course, you could just grab all the keyframes and position to a point in time, but sometimes this is nicer. It's like a little controller to reposition stuff. And the other one that maybe is a little less intuitive is a scenario like this. So let's say, this grid here. Nope, not more grid, less grid. There we go. All right. So let's say I have some element. Let's be methodical about this. So let's say, so if I double click on this, it will make a shape layer that will fill the canvas. And what it did actually, and so I didn't draw anything, is it created a rectangle that is 1920 by 1080. All right, and I can make this anything I want, of course. And it's still a scale of 1 and a rotation of 0. So all I'm trying to do is create a shape with lots of control over it. So let's say I have this rectangle right smack dab in the middle of the canvas. And I have it rotated along some angle, some arbitrary angle, 40 degrees. And I want to animate. Let's make it a little smaller too. I want to animate this exactly along this axis. Like it's like a car on the road, or like a train on a train track, or who knows. But I want to go exactly at this angle. How am I going to do it? When I make this line, 1, I'm eyeballing it. 2, when we want to refine the animation, it gets complicated. 3, I'm actually animating 2 numbers at once, which is also could be more complex than I need it to be. So this is another use for a null. So what you could do, so I'm just hitting R to see what the rotation is. All right, so my rotation is -40, so I'm gonna make a new null. Sweet, and I'll make this also -40. And then I'm gonna make the shape a child of the null. And now, if we look at the rotation, it actually went to 0, which is kind of wild, because relative to its parent, it hasn't rotated at all. And where it gets really cool is when we look at the position. If I slide the x value, see now only one number is changing. So it's animating exactly along the orientation of its parent. It has inherited the transformation. This is like a whole crazy mathy thing that we could talk about here. But in the future, when we're finessing our animation, we are only altering one number, and we are animating along an exact orientation. So that is a pretty cool thing. All right, so that's parenting and null basics. And of course, it's a whole universe of stuff, but that'll get the ball rolling.